please feel free to reach out to myself or Michelle Bagels if she's here. I don't know if I saw her come in or not. Yeah, we're always looking for volunteers. We're looking to grow, and we've got a bunch of cool things going on. So check out the Tech Hub South Florida Slack channel and reach out if you're interested in learning more about Code Palm Beach.
But we are here for Mr. Jonathan Sanchez. I think that there will be oh no, there's no big prize this particular event, but there will be, just to let everybody else know, we're going to have the first sort of hybrid in-person and recorded streaming, as you're seeing right now through Zoom, next Tuesday, being the first Tuesday of the month. We don't know precisely what we're going to be presenting, but it is going to be exciting. Check out your emails or FloridaJS.com in the future, say next week, to get more details about that. But Mrs. Jonathan Sanchez, are you ready to present NextJS?
Yes, sir. Ready.
Perfect. Then I hand over the reins to the great Jonathan Sanchez, which is presented here before, and he's talking about what we all want to know about.
Oh my God, Damien, you hyped me up like, oh my God, man, I got all this, no pressure, right? No pressure.
No pressure other than the fact that you got to hit it a home run, that's all.
You've got a whole bunch of new people to the meetup to impress, so, you know.
Yeah.
No pressure.
No pressure there, no pressure. Just by show of hands, and if you, inside of the Zoom, if you could just, I want to see show of hands, who have used Next.js before? If you're on camera, you can just raise your hand, and Rig, Damien, and there's like a little hand on the, okay.
Oh, I like that. I like the little hands on there. That's impressive.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was looking for. All right, so without further ado, let me go to share my screen. And so we can get started here. All right. So let me see if my mouse still works. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. All right. So Next.js. First, it's just a little bit about me. My name is Jonathan Sanchez. I currently work for BocaCode. One of the lead developer and instructors there in BocaCode. It's a coding school. We teach adults into how to change their careers into software engineering and software development. We teach from back end all the way to front end. We teach databases. We go into SQL, Mongo. We also teach React and React Native, within other things in there. I'm the lead instructor of the mobile for React Native. So that's one of my strong suits there. Before that, I used to work for Legacy Research. I was the lead mobile developer there as well. I released 8 mobile apps there with Vue and wrapped with Cordova. I used to work for Carnival Cruise Lines. I'm always an entrepreneur still. I had a restaurant. I had a couple of other side businesses. I had a data agency as well. I graduated from FIU with Management Information Systems. And last but not least, recently I got my Cloud Practitioner AWS certification. It's not a huge certification, but it's just a foot getting in the door. These are my beautiful girls. I'm a dad of 3 beautiful girls here. And I play drums on the weekends whenever I get time away from the computer. So that's a little bit about me. Before we dive into Next.js, I really wanted to talk about who is currently using Next.js out in the world and in the web world. So I don't know if you guys are into crypto. I'm sure I surely am. I use Binance a whole lot, and these guys are one of the largest crypto exchange group and site in the web out there. Whenever you want to find your next place to rent or to purchase, Realtor.com is using Next.js also. It loads super quick and is very friendly to use. Also, AT&T is using NextJS for their current website. Marvel is also using it, and TikTok. Not a fan of TikTok, but my daughters are, and they're all in TikTok all the time. And yeah, thank God for screen time, right? So, yeah, let's talk about Next. So what is Next? So if you go to the site, it says that it's the framework for production for React. So just before we get into Next, I know we have maybe some new people here, and I just want to talk a little bit about React, just so that we could be on the same page once we dive into Next.js. So what is React? It's a library to build web applications or web UIs. It is the leading JavaScript library, the leading Damien. So Angular. I'm kidding.
Sorry, I didn't hear any part of that. So you.
Do you want me to repeat it again? It's the leading JavaScript library.
That I'm eating. Yeah, yes, I'm eating. So is that what you heard?
Yeah. So yeah, we have this running joke that, obviously we are opinionated about the technology that we use to build our interfaces. But and with React, you can build web, mobile applications, desktop applications, and I mean, it's the opportunities are endless. You could build applications for your TV, for anything nowadays. So it is backed by Facebook, and it is a React is a component-based library. So components are the building blocks, and basically you build everything through your components. The cool thing about the components that they hold their own state, and they could receive data or props from parent components and JavaScript functions. React uses a virtual DOM, which is basically like a cached version of the real DOM. So the real DOM gets updated with the virtual DOM. That's how React makes its way to a real DOM, and that's what makes it rather fast. It uses an entry point inside of HTML to inject all of the JavaScript code into it, and I'm going to talk about that a little more. So let's get to my next slide here. Okay, so before we jump into React a little bit, I just wanted to set expectations here. So React is a library, and the difference in a library and a framework is on the library, you plug in the library to your code. So your code is the main bulk of your application, and you bring in the library to help you make a function or to do some functionality actually in your app, rather than a framework like Next.js. So framework for Next.js, you plug in your code into the framework. So the framework is more, it has a lot more built-in items into it. That's why it's a little more robust and a little bigger in size. Also, like React Native is also a framework. And so yeah, those are the two differences for that. So we're going to talk about Next, but before we talk about the problem that Next.js is trying to it's trying to resolve, and it has been successful, let's talk about some drawbacks of React. So React is a SPA, a single page application, and it injects all of the HTML via JavaScript via this tag here. So this div tag with the ID of root, it injects all of JavaScript through there. Okay, and because of this, the source of the React application is little to none. So basically, it's hard for search engines to crawl and index your web application. In result, like SEO really suffers. So it's really hard for public websites, public web applications to be indexed. Yeah, there's some hacky ways that we could get, and we could add like manual metadata into the React app, and I'll show you an example in a bit. But it's not that simple, and it's not that friendly for SEO and in search engine bots. Also, routing, it's tricky because it's just switching components in and out within the web application. So it's not like a regular website where you go through a different link and it goes out to the server and then requests the actual page you want to, right? So what else we have here? So React is super fast. I think it's great. It's fast, but as we have seen, as React apps become rather large, they tend to slow down because as you can see, it's the only entry point of this ID route. So imagine this huge medical application that needs to inject all the JavaScript just into this ID of root here. So it could start getting a little slow. Hence, there's tools that have come out like Vite. I know that Jeremy presented that a couple of sessions ago, and it's a great tool to get around a lot of the slowness that comes with React. Another drawback is the router DOM. If you guys have created applications in React, you guys know that you have to import not only the library, but you have to like lay out the entire navigation in code. So you have to use a switch that comes from the library of the React router DOM, and you have to like give it the exact paths, and a lot of room for errors. I mean, it's not too bad. It's not that difficult, but it's a lot of room for errors. So, but with this, like I mentioned, it just switches the route, it switches the components from your web application rather than going to the direct path. It's like tricking the browser. I like to think about it like that it's tricking the browser. Okay, so let's see. This is, for example, our BocaCode.com website for the BocaCode school. It was originally built in just React by itself, and I've started with Todd a new BocaCode.com, but on NextJS, and I ran a Lighthouse site. What's it called? The where you get an inspector. We got Lighthouse.
It's the Lighthouse Test that
Test,
I think it's just called Test.
Yeah. So it's like a Lighthouse Test. And you see a lighthouse here, but basically, so I ran to compare the performance, and right off the bat, just in the same courses page, you'll notice that the speed is just 24 points higher, and is running better practices. Accessibility is almost the same. But not only in performance, but the big picture is that we at BocaCode, we want students, right? We want people to find us online and on their phones and on any device. So SEO is huge for us. Hence why we're switching. One of the reasons why we're switching into a NextJS site. So let's talk about the benefits of NextJS that we're trying to fix from React. So routing is based on the structure of the files. It doesn't depend on libraries or code. It just the files that you add onto it. It automatically picks that up and it creates a route for you. And that's basically about it. And we're gonna dive in a little more about that. And then it also makes your web application SEO friendly. It makes your public application just indexable, right? So that your search engines and your bots are able to crawl through your site and find those H1 heading tags, those P tags, all of that juicy content that your site's going to have. Not only does it make it SEO friendly, but it also makes the app much faster. So if you notice those like the Binance or the AT&T or the Marvel, the Realtor.com websites, if you try to load them, they run super quick, like on initial load. So they're amazing. Also, you could run customized server code in here. So you can have actual node server code running in your Next.js application, which is insane because you usually would think of just React as a front end web application, right? But if you can run Node in there, it's amazing. So one of the biggest things that makes all this happen is the pre-rendering and the data fetching techniques that comes with Next.js. So let's talk about how this is a big thing to really hone in. So first, regular React is a client server rendering. Basically, it goes out to the hosting server. It brings down one index HTML file, and the index HTML file keeps bringing in the rest of the data and information. That's classic with all spas, Vue, Angular, and React. There's a couple of other ones, but those are the top three. But with Next.js, we also get a static site generation, and that's by default. We get that for free with Next.js, and we're gonna dive into each one of these in a little bit. The next one is incremental static. Oh, I was missing the T there. Static regeneration, and then we get server-side rendering. And let's dive into each one of these here. So on a normal React app, you'll have a client-side rendering. So this is a regular SPA workflow where it grabs your HTML and it injects everything inside of the HTML tag, whether you're bringing in data from a database separately or anything like that. So this server here is the hosting server, but we saw that with this, there's no SEO benefits on that. So with Next.js, we are able to create static site generation. So this is generated for free by default, where you have a server function, and it brings in the data. If you have a connection to a database, it brings in the data, and you get served the exact HTML with the data and everything that the server built for you and this happens when you create the build for your production app. So when you do yarn build or npm run build, it creates this like for React, it usually creates a build folder. For Next, it creates a .next folder. And it creates, as you see the chunks, under the chunk, you see the pages there. It creates the actual HTML page for each of those pages that you want for your site. So that takes me to the incremental static regeneration. So the problem with the static is that it's only created upon build. So if your data changes or if you need to make a quick update, you have to rerun the build, so that the server creates the entire build, and then it gives you all of your static HTML files. So Next.js was like, okay, that would be cool, but how about if we need something a little more dynamic? So they created this ISR where they use inside of the Next.js, you could add a function, a node function, that basically it triggers like a timer, an incremental timer, that the server it pulls in the data on that timer, and it will give you the latest update onto your computer when you go into the site. So this timer, so you won't get the latest one unless you want the timer to be really fast, and the timer pulls in the data incrementally as fast or as slow as you need it, for depending on your app. The next one is the best of both worlds. Is upon request, the client asks the server for the information, the server grabs it from the database and brings it back into the client instantly. Now, the only drawback to this is that you have to have a server function in some cloud service, or you could even have a whole node. No, actually, you have to have it in a cloud service. Yeah, so you have to have this function in a serverless environment running at all times and listening for this update to happen. So you might ask yourself, okay, John, so what's the best technique? Like, I want to build my NextJS site and all that. So which will be the best one? So it obviously depends. But for private applications, React is totally fine. If you don't need to give it out to the world, if speed is not a thing that you need, React's still fine. Yeah, you could definitely create server rendering methods with just React. It's a little more cumbersome, but it has it available. Then it takes me to the static generated sites. So if you don't if you have a blog that you're going to be writing and it's not pulling a lot of data from databases, like a quick dynamic, then the static generation might work for that type of project. Now, if you need to bring in and update the data once in a while, you will need to you could implement the incremental timer for this. Or last but not least, if it has a lot of traffic and the data and the site refreshes very frequently, you need SSR for that, so server-side rendering for that. So let's talk about the two top guys that try to resolve this issue. So Next versus Gatsby. And these are just some of the advantages. As you can see there, it's Next is a little better for very content-heavy websites. Gatsby, they say that it's faster to start with and easier learning curve. Honestly, I haven't touched Gatsby. I just went to NextJS directly, and I love it. I love it. And yeah, it's. I think a lot of people that are using React, a lot of companies that are using React are now going into NextJS rather than Gatsby. So yeah, this is one of the reasons why I chose to go into Next, because of this hype and this. And they're very in the community. They're very active. They're already having a lot of conferences, and I'm not sure about Gatsby too much, but I really love Next. And so with that, what I wanted to do today was just create a simple Next app with just some events in there. I created this dummy project. I created this skeleton repo. So if you want to code along, you could pull that and you could clone it to your system and install all the dependencies, and you could code along here.
I like the catchy name. Is that Wibble?
Yeah,
is that how you pronounce it? Wibble?
What would you learn?
Nice.
What would you learn? So up to here, any questions about what like, are we clear on the problems that Next.js is trying to resolve with from React, or everything clear? I know I talk a little fast, but everybody good? Let me see if there's anybody in the chat.
I have some comments regarding, if that's okay.
Go for it, Kevin.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, actually, first of all, thank you for I like the beginning you said you can talk and stuff like that. I like that interaction than like a YouTube video. Otherwise, it becomes YouTube video, and I fall asleep. So some of the issues you mentioned, right? They are actually, I've actually worked on all three: Angular, Vue, and currently React. So they're actually pretty to, I guess, SPA applications, regardless of the library framework you're using. So especially SEO, right? That's crawling. So I think Google, when they search, look up for the crawling IDs or crawl the engine, right? So that's actually inherently issue with the way the spas are all implemented. And before that, even though React uses the ID, like you said, root is equal to ID and then injects, once you build, right, compile or build, it all becomes one HTML and JavaScript, regardless of the JavaScript framework or library using, even Angular. So regardless, so once it's built, then it ceases to exist. So I think the issue is under the hood where how it was implemented. So SEO. And one more issue they said, right, the fast load times. That's initial page. I think the way it is clients versus the server rendering, that first page gets faster than second or subsequent pages. I'm not sure, but one of the page gets faster depending on the client side or server rendering. That is what I think they kind of solve. And I just want to make it not just React actually. So
yeah, definitely. Those exactly, that's why we're here for Next. And you hit on the nail for sure. So you have a question or anything, or that was just clarification?
No, I was just making a comment. And one more thing, I think Gatsby versus NextJS, right? So Gatsby, even I have not used, but my feeling is Gatsby, it's more like you said, static generations, right? They're like more like a WordPress where you don't need much of programming, like on a WordPress, right? That's your website. I think you said that there's not much data. So I'm thinking maybe Gatsby or like, the Shopify where you have a website, like a small business website. My data is not going to change a lot. Just it's there. People just go and buy a product using a credit card. Those things, right? Static generation. That's what my feeling is. I'm a programmer, so obviously I don't think I'll work on a Gatsby ever, but that's what my feeling versus the Gatsby versus the NextJS, I think.
NextJS. Yeah. We had a developer try to incorporate Gatsby into our current BocaCode website, and it was kind of lacking a lot of the stuff that NextJS does for us. So yeah, definitely those are very good points. So that we could go ahead and keep this short. I know everybody wants to get to dinner. So this is what we're going to try to accomplish today. Just clone the project that Mr. Damien shared with you guys if you want to follow along. And we're going to start creating some components. We're going to start configuring some dynamic routes and run the build locally so we can see all that. So just quickly, I wanted to show, like, this is our BocaCode website currently. And this guy right now is on React by itself. So if I were to go into view page source, we have, this is hard coded. So we hard coded this inside of the app file. So notice that there's no like HTML tags other than this huge script happening here. So that's the problem that we're trying to resolve here. So if we go to our next, to the version that is in Next.js, we could view the source also here. And notice that it tightly puts everything in one line. But if we line wrap it here, we get a lot of juicy stuff here. Not only everything from the head, but also the content. So we get the body, we get everything inside of the content. So we get all the A tags, all of the content that has to do with this page. So this is what the bots are really, they go gaga for. So this is one of the issues that we're trying to resolve with Next.js and a new version of BocaCode website. So I just wanted to quickly show that before anything else. And without further ado, if anybody else has any questions, definitely bring them up as I pull up the project here. This is not like a one-way street. You guys can definitely comment, correct me if I'm wrong, right? I'm not like the super senior level NextJS expert in the world. No, I just love it. And
I
like to
believe
talk
that's
about
how
it.
you were sold. Sorry.
No money back.
Yeah, that's what my experience was. Sorry.
Thank you for that, Damien. Thank you. All right, so if you guys were able to, actually, that's not the one. This is the one. All right, if you guys were able
Actually,
to
Jonathan,
clone.
my question for you, since
Mhm.
you're done in NextJS, right? If you can talk sometime, like, more in terms of the enterprise applications, right? Like, let's say Netflix or Amazon, for them, right? It costs, it's into $1 million of dollars, right? Let's say somebody like users like 30 seconds or even minute, probably for them, it's kind of, I don't know, right? Compared to like small websites that they don't care, like, 2 minutes is fine, but enterprise applications, Amazon, Netflix, I don't know, I can't think of something else on the millions of dollars, probably, they probably would have invested more time. I mean, even Airbnb using this performance, right? Using Next.js or those kind of things.
So the benefits, Kevin, you're right. It is that there is savings, and there's say many, one person opening it and saving 30 seconds, but a million people, that's a lot of savings. It's more to do with, as an example, Google cares a lot for your website, not Airbnb or Netflix. They know what, that Netflix, no matter how long it takes, that's Netflix. But your website, they care a lot of how long the first, I don't remember what the official name is, the first actual draw. In other words, by the first time you get to see the web page that we're seeing with Jonathan right now. So they care a lot about how long that takes, and they rank
it's
you
called
based
time to
upon
first
that.
paint.
Thank
Yeah,
you, my friend.
that's
Thank you,
great.
Jeremy. So this is one of the many benefits of this. So the time to first paint, the first time you can kind of see the website and interact with it, comes a little bit faster. And that little bit faster is important to Google and might move you up 1 or 2 spots in the search that you're trying to come up number 1 in. And so that is one of the benefits we're seeing with this. But let's see it live, and then we can put some of these questions at the end. But thank you, Kevin.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So the idea is to build something like this, rather simple, with a welcome and events that is driven by this dummy data that I have here. And so I shared the repo there. If you guys want to go ahead and clone it, so we can follow along. So once you clone it, if you use Yarn, you will to install all the dependencies that are in our package.json. You will have to run Yarn here to install. There's not a lot, it's just those 3 there. But basically you do Yarn. If you wanted to see it on the final build, you run Yarn build to run it locally, to run the final build locally. But in our case, we're gonna just run the dev environment. So we do Yarn dev, which is this guy here, so that we could run it locally. And notice right away, it runs on port 3000, and that's what it currently looks like. It's bare bones. And so I'm just gonna walk you through real quick here to what we have here. So we have some styles that I threw in together, globals. I mean, it's just a lot of different styles. We're not styling this today, but that's why I threw it in there. The demo, this is just a GIF of what the app does. This is the dummy data. It's basically a JSON file, an array of objects that has some functions, some helper functions here, just mimic like a server. And what else we have here? We have inside of pages, we have, I'm gonna touch that one last, but components I created originally. So this is like the event detail, and it's kind of, it has a lot of React code on here that I didn't want to make you write, but so I just threw it on here. I have some icons here that are SVGs. that we're gonna use throughout this this sample, and just a button through here. So the last thing I want to show you quickly here is our entry point. So app is our main entry point into our application, and app is where basically you bring in all of the CSS, and you could pass in page props, and you could configure your layout through here. Okay, so one of the most important ones here, it is our index.js. I created to be our home, and in here we have a head like a normal HTML head, where we're able to add a title. So you see the title here. You see the favicon. This is Vercel's favicon by default, and you could have you could keep adding metadata just like a regular HTML website you would. Here, notice that this head, it's coming from Next, from the framework of Next, and this is the usual way that we import items from Next. All right, so we have a regular main tag here. So wanted to okay, so in public here we have the favicon, we have some images here that we're going to use through our content, and right away what I wanted to do is add a 404 page. So for example, you're typing a link that doesn't exist. Vercel and the folks at NextJS gives us this 404 page free, but notice how we could add a 404 page here, and we could call it here. Give me a second. Yeah, so found. So just quickly here, and then we could return. We could return just an H1. Sorry. It's page not found. Right. Export default. Yeah, just missing the word function here. Notice how nice it gives you a errors right away. So I'm just visiting the function word here. Function. Trying to type and speak at the same time. It's kind of hard. I'm going to refresh this guy here, and notice that now we're getting our page. So right away, routing, it's at play right now. It just created a 404 page for us here without doing much work. All right. So how about if we need an about page? Awesome. So let's grab this guy here. Let's create a about page. And notice that these are not regular React components where we usually uppercase the first letter of it, right? This is our about. These are lowercase, so about page here. Okay, and then once we go into that route, we get our about page right away in there. Awesome. So if we go back home, we get our index.js, which is just happening here, which is awesome there. Okay, and let's just populate this about page a little more so that we can have some more content here. I'm just going to create. So I'm going to create a fragment, and in here we're going to have an H1, and inside of that we're going to have a div. So let's have a div. Inside we're going to have an image, like a big image like this, and this image is actually going to come from NextJS. So this is so that NextJS also helps us into optimizing our images for download. Okay, and this is a self-closing tag here, and I'm just going to bring this guy up here. and get rid of this one. So that we're just, yep, awesome. And after the image, we're gonna add some p tags here. Let's say ×2 with some lorem inside. There we go. So we got some p tags prettied up there. So let's go to the about. It's your changes right away. And yep, so notice that image by itself obviously needs some properties. So it needs some styles, okay? And that's style. And it's an object, a JavaScript object here. So position, we want to make it relative. And we're going to give it a width of auto here, and height of 500 pixels. And let's see if that works now. And it's obviously missing the source. So let's give that image a source here. Right, so we go to images. We're going to go to the public. We're going to go to images and networking, JPEG. And we're still missing a couple of things, right? Because we're using actually this style.
I think you can use the width and outside instead of style, right? Just width is equal to and height is equal to, you can, it should work.
Yeah, but actually, I mean, I need to use that inside of my div tag that wraps my image. And here we're going to use a layout fill, and we're also going to use object fit cover here. Awesome. So there's our image there and our text. So yeah, you could bring in normal IMGs from, you could use the regular IMG tag, like for HTML, so IMG like this. However, when you do the build, it's going to give you an error because it wants to optimize this image as much as possible for the rendering to happen much faster, obviously.
Can you show us the source code? I just want to see the generated source code.
Sure. So here, generate source code is here. Now, yeah, we have the H1s, we have the div tags. Let me zoom in a little bit here. There we go. So yeah, you got the p tags. Everything's out of the p tag. Everything's out of the body. Like, it's all working its magic already there without doing the build. So let me save that. How are we doing with time, Damien?
I think you're good. We're
okay.
Well, usually we want to stop before 8 o'clock. We're doing okay here.
Okay, sounds good. So let's talk about maybe a dynamic routing. So let's say you have different events that you want to have this this app automatically render for you. So
that's a huge one.
That's a huge one. Yeah. So you don't want to create an event. You don't want to create a page. And so what NextJS does is automatically when you create a subfolder inside of pages, it makes this a route. So this route could take in an index.js where I'm just gonna grab this guy real quick. Actually the 404. I'm gonna grab this guy and just flop it in here. And then here I'm just gonna call it like all events. And then this is gonna be our all events. Okay. And basically, once we go into the events route, it's going to automatically look for that index.js, and all events is coming here. Okay. So in here, let's bring in that dummy data real quick. So we're going to import get featured events. I'm going to bring it from dummy data, which is here. And then once we're here, we're gonna go ahead and get feature events, right? And we're gonna just, I'm gonna give it a name so we get extract what that function gave us. So feature events, and that's gonna give us that. And then inside of here, I'm also gonna create a more content here, and I'm gonna create another fragment. And fragments are good to keep your React code clean. I know maybe we have a couple of students here that are learning React. And so inside of here, we're gonna have a UL with, and let's say 2 LIs, so times 2. And then we can have first event, and then second here. All right, so we have the events there working. Let's bring in that event item that I created here for us so that we can start seeing some rendering data there. So we go to import event item from, let's see, components. I think I go one up. Components, and then events and event item. Awesome. Great. So that's how we bring it in. So we're basically going to replace these 2 LIs with this event item. So if we console log, well, I don't want to console log it, but basically feature events, it brings in an array. So we want to put out some JavaScript code in here so that we could render dynamically that event item here. So we could grab featured events and we could map through that. And that's going to give us, going to iterate through that array. And we could use this, that each item, we're going to call it event. And here we're going to call event item, where it's going to be a self-closing component, which we're bringing in from here. And then we're going to go ahead and pass in, here, just for time's sake, I'm going to just copy the props that we're going to bring in. And basically, we're bringing in the key, title that comes from events, image, date, location, and all that good stuff, which you can see inside of the dummy data, right? So title, ID, location, date, all that good stuff. All right. So that's what we have there. And there, it's nice and styled for us here and inside of the events page. Awesome. So what about if we want to go into one event, one particular event? Let's talk about that for a little bit here. Let's find out how Next.js helps us for that.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
How would you handle global navigation, global elements?
Global navigation? Yeah, sure. So actually, yeah, let's do that real quick. I think we have a little time here, so let's do that real quick. How I would do it is I'll create a inside of my components.
What do you mean by that, Anthony? What is it that you're looking for?
Like your masthead, your global navigation, that you're going to have it on every page. I assume you want to limit repeating yourself. So I'm just kind of wondering what the technique is.
Exactly. So let me do this real quick here. So inside of components, we created a layout folder. Okay, and under this layout folder, we're gonna just create a. I'm gonna grab this 404 page here and put it into our header, and basically I'm gonna call it header, and we're gonna grab here and just this is header. Okay, and rather quick here, I'm gonna go ahead and add a actually just copy and paste and make it a footer. All right, and make this footer. That's not what I want to do. Command D and make it.
So this is like a specific to React, right? Component reusable, not necessarily in Next.js, right?
Yeah. Yes. Correct. Yes, sir. Absolutely correct. But it's a little different how we're gonna do it here. And in here, we're gonna have just layout. JS, and then we're gonna just call here layout. right? And then, so basically inside of layout, I'm going to go ahead and import header from header here, and I'm going to copy that and just replace it with footer, and that's going to bring that in there. So then now in here, we could go ahead and wrap those inside of another fragment and make sure we get those inside of a parentheses here so that we don't get any errors. And then here, what we do is we bring in the header, right, this, and then we bring in, I'm gonna create a main, which is gonna, actually, let's do it like this. We're gonna have a class name main, so div for the class name that, and this is gonna also bring in our footer here, and let's pretty that up a little bit. And inside of our div, what we're gonna catch is props that I'm gonna show you where they're gonna come from in a little bit. So in here, props, children, all right, and then we're gonna bring in from, these props are gonna come from a different place here. They're actually gonna come from our app.js, which we are gonna import our layouts from here, components, layouts, and maybe I should have called it just index so that I didn't have to bring it in like this. But essentially what you would do is you will wrap your main components with your layout components here, okay? And then once you do that, inside of components here, let me go back out here, inside of the pages.
Is your screen right now moving? Oh yeah,
No.
you are. Okay.
Yeah. So inside of here, now I'm able to, once I wrap my main components,
Yeah.
and I bring it in with my layout, which is bringing in footer and header.
Yeah.
Notice that my header.
And every route right now has it, and that's pretty impressive. Was this different than normal React? Because it looked like normal.
No,
normal React.
The only difference is that regular React it doesn't have the underscore app.js.
Okay.
And this will look a little different here also.
Okay.
Those are the only two things here.
So
Yeah,
there was a difference.
I had missed it. There was this opportunity at a higher level to wrap it. So cool. For some reason, I was thinking that each of the pages you were making were standalone.
Anthony, I thought the exact same thing you did. I thought he was going to do the exact same thing. This is very impressive. I think
pretty straightforward.
Jonathan at this moment is just simply showing off. I believe. I believe that's what it's called.
No.
That's very impressive. But me and Anthony, you thought we.
Awesome. So let me. I think I have like another maybe another 5 minutes.
And one more thing, right, Jonathan? What you did is that HOC pattern, right? Like if you're using Redux or some of those, you use the HOC pattern wherein you embed a component and you pass a component as children, right? I think that's the pattern I think we are using there, right?
Yes, correct, Mundo. Yes, sir. And inside of nav, I'm gonna add a link, a baked link, and then inside of there, it's gonna have an A tag, and basically inside of the A tag here. So the href does not go inside of the normal A tag. However, we need the A tag for the link to get some styling. Okay, so but notice that this link is using the big link. So we need to import this guy from NextJS. So from next link, we're gonna import link from there, right? So that now we can have here, for example, home. And once we add it into our navigation, then we'll be able to just duplicate that maybe a couple of more times here. And here we'll be able to do events and our about. So here in the link is where we need to specify, obviously, where we want it to go. Let's give this nav a class name navigation. So we get some styling there happening. Awesome. And then in here, which is gonna obviously home, is gonna go take us home, and events, and about here like this. So now we have events, home, take us there.
I mean, this,
about
Jonathan, this is amazing because you didn't do any of the routing you normally do with React, right? And we instantly can knock these out.
Exactly.
That's amazing. This is great.
Exactly. That's the idea, that you focus more on that. Let me just add a quick footer here so that it looks a little better here. It's basically just a footer with some styling there. One more thing that I really wanted to show, that the power of Next, if we have time here, is that, oh, I didn't get to even create it here. Here, so the sub events, right? So this is our catch-all page, right? Our index, but if we have dynamic in there, so what we need to do is create a file with like if it was an array, right? So that is dynamic. And in here, we can call it whatever we want. So for example, for me, I'm going to call it just event ID, okay? And this guy here, I'm going to just, I don't want to copy and paste the whole thing. So, all right, let's just create a quick export defaults function and single events, all right? And nothing there, but here. And in here, what we're going to do is just return, return some, let's say, H1 with event info, right? So the event info is there. So if I'm under events and I type in, for example, like 1, 2, 3, it's gonna take me to an event info page, which is this guy here, right? But now, how do we grab that information that is dynamically being passed in as a parameter into our Next.js? So for that, we need to bring in from Next.js, we need to bring in the router. So it comes with a built-in router. So we're gonna import. Now this time, we're gonna import it, but it's gonna be from the library itself, like this. It's a hook that they created there. And we're gonna go ahead and put a router there, okay? And then we're gonna use that router, and then we're gonna give it a name. So const router, and so that we can start using it here. And then from router, we could get, let's say, let's just console log real quick. Router, see what we get for free. So here we're gonna go into the console, and automatically, once I go to 1, 2, 3, the router gives me all of this juicy stuff here. So it gives me the path name, it gives me the query, it brings me a lot of different things, right? So one of the most important things that I'm concerned and I will need to get is router. I'm just gonna go ahead and get it from query, and I want to get the event ID from there. So if I refresh this guy here, I got the event ID, the 1, 2, 3, the 1, 2, 3. So I'm getting the event ID. I'm gonna go ahead and destructure that real quick, so that we could grab it from router query, and we have structure like this. I don't know if Dan's still on the call. Dan, you want to introduce yourself real quick? Dan's one of the students of BocaCode in our newest cohort. I don't know if he's still there or not.
Oh, I'm still here, but don't distract me from trying to keep along.
Oh, nice, Dan. I like that. You're keeping along. Go for it. I love it.
That's the idea, man. That's the idea.
He's about to sell it to some venture capitalist over there. And
yeah, there you go. So event ID. Awesome. Dan has been doing great in class, and today is our third day of React. So obviously it's airing out because I don't have any content here. So let me just add a quick fragment, and I'm going to have an H1, and I'm going to have a title here. And after that, I'm going to have a div with an image inside. And real quickly here, inside of that same div, actually, we're going to leave that div by itself. I'm going to have a span that has a strong tag in there. And after that span, we're going to add a just a line break real quick. And we're going to have another span. Span with another strong inside.
Span.
So where, and this is going to be the when. All right, let me pretty that up. And let's see what you complained about here. Oh, okay, you're missing the image. All right, cool. So we need to import the image. So we need to import image from next image here. And obviously it's going to keep airing out because it's missing a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm not going to bore you with that. I'm just going to go ahead and grab it from here and add it to here. I'm going to hide this guy. And basically it's events not defined. Where are you? Event in line 13. So obviously, okay. All right, so basically that's the layout. That's the styles there. The same thing with image, but we want the image to be dynamic, right? So then what we do is from our where we're importing this event ID. Oh no, actually let's import it from here. So we're not so we could do import, get destructure that, get event by ID, and then gonna bring it from our dummy data that it's located there, and we're going to structure that real quick. So I'm gonna do a const event, get event by ID, and then event ID, so that now we have an event. So yeah, obviously. So we're gonna grab that from not there, like this. So that image is still undefined. Okay. So by ID, okay. All right. What are you complaining about?
Would you console log the event?
Yeah. Oh, what? Yeah, but this event doesn't exist. So I think it's like
smart.
Yeah.
Just go back to the list of main events, and then you will click on that, right? You've created that.
Yeah, something's up with the image event by event. Get event by ID. Yeah, that's fine. Get event by ID. Yeah, that's cool. Then I'm not gonna be here troubleshooting with you guys. I'm just gonna just paste that real quick. Maybe I have a typo somewhere. And
Jonathan, once you go to the list of events and click on one of the events, or obviously the IDs.
Yeah. Yep, you're exactly right. So I'm gonna go here, and you should be able to click on Explore Events, and it takes me to the event there.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Exactly what it was. So I want to see this one here, and it's bringing it in, and it's bringing in all of the info, obviously here. All right. So just real quick, I'm gonna just go ahead and try to add the rest information here. I'm not gonna bore you with that, so I'm just gonna copy and paste it here. So basically, it's just the props, and this is regular React, where we bring in the event. The event has an image, has a title, has a location, has a date, which I make it being routed through here. All right. And one last thing that I really wanted to show inside of here is, what about if you wanted to filter events by let's say by date on your query? So Next.js gives us another way that we could do that through the filing system here. So we're gonna add another array.js file, but this time we're gonna use the spread operator, and we usually would call this a slug. And for right now, let me just copy the 404 page. Yeah, good. And let me just drop this in here. And we can have your own component here. So slug page, we can call it. And the awesome thing is that if you have a form and you want to do like a search lookup, you could have here, for example, I want the events from 2021 to let's say January and then 23rd or something. And that route takes us to the page cannot be found because I changed it here. So slug page. And it brings us to our slug page here, where we have now an array of items that we could use from there. So let me show you how we could bring that out real quick here using our router. In here, import here, we're gonna use a router, and we're gonna get it from next router. And then out of here, we're gonna go ahead and use that router. So use router, and we have to give it a name so we could use it. It's the router. And we're gonna go ahead and just console log our router there so we can see what's happening on here. So as we try to filter this out, it gives us as path like that, but path name, and more importantly, let's get the query. And I think that'd be all. Let's see what we get here. There we go. So now we got a slug with an actual array of the filtering that our path is doing for us.
So Jonathan, how did it figure out that it needed to hit the slug instead of the event ID? What made it different?
The path, I'm not sure if you can see that my path.
Oh, I can't, right. There's some slashes in there.
Yeah, this is the path.
Yes, so, yes. Now I see it better. Okay.
Yeah.
That's tremendous.
This is the entire thing here. So by putting the path here, it wants to render this slug page, and here you can make the filter. You can make the filter to do that.
And yet, if you still go to the whatever E1 or whatever the one for the event that we saw a second ago, it'll still work.
Yeah, of course. If we could go back into events and
amazing.
We could go back into events and everything else will work just the same. But if you wanted to have you could have like many filters, like whatever filters you want, because we're using the spread operator. It's bringing in like everything, just splitting it out into this huge array that you could bring into your query to bring in some data or anything like that. So I know I'm just going out of time here, but just lastly, I just wanted to show you guys that here in the index JS is where we normally could run some server-side code with like this, for example. So if you notice, this is our regular node function that we are with this. I'm actually accessing the file system of my computer, and I could read a file by using the FS library. And if I bring in promises from there and I bring in path just by default from Node, I don't need to install any additional libraries that come with Node. I'll be able to use them directly in here. So I'm running server-side code in this function, and this revalidate property here is the one that it uses the incremental the timer, so that it fetches the data or it does something to repopulate your HTML on here.
This is blowing my mind. So over here, if I wanted to do full node and the the request, the node, and things like that, would it be inside the export function there that I would do it? Like in here, I would do the require instead of the include that node needs and things like that?
Yes, correct. This get static props, it's actually is not just something that I came up with. It comes from NextJS, so it listens to this particular. That's what they want to use it as. So it is a special function inside that you could use Node JS code.
Right.
So, yeah, absolutely. And just to show real quick, I did the yarn build. It's my page. I'm probably having some errors in and out, but essentially what it does, it builds this .next, which in fact it gives you the server. And inside of server, you can have you see all the JS code, but in static, you see where was it? Static index pages events. No, that's all the server code. I guess it didn't. It didn't complete the build because I'm having some errors here. But here you will see the static HTML for the events one and all of the other pages. So yeah, with that, my friends, I think I'm running out of time here. I don't want to keep you longer, but any questions in regards, not start, what am I doing? Def. Any questions? Let me start sharing my screen so I can see you guys' faces. All right. Cool.
First and foremost, thank you. That was amazing. That was awesome. There's a lot of things I didn't know about React Next.js, which makes this tremendous. No wonder Rick was so excited about it when he told us about it, like whatever 5 to 10 years ago. Was it 10 years ago, Rick, that he told us about it?
It was maybe 10 tech years ago.
10 tech years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So 6 months ago.
About 6 months.
Okay, so that is truly amazing. Jonathan, a lot of things that I really, as you remember, one of the biggest things that I thought was important, just in my mind, was I would copy and paste a URL for an existing React app, and it would be like the front page, and it's like, no, but I copied something /events/ E1 to use your example, and I wanted that event to show up on Slack. I wanted that event to show up on Twitter, and because like you said, it was essentially the front page, it would show up the front page meta tags. And it was like, wow, there's so much missing. But and I thought, Next.js helps that. But all the things you show us with the images, with the routing dynamically, with a node on the back end, makes it an amazing thing. I'm blown away.
Awesome. I'm glad you found some use. Anybody else has any questions? Any last comments or anything? I think Rick, you have your site with Next.js, right? Your fish rules.
I've got a bunch of sites in Next.js. Yeah, I do. But the web app version, where you go to the regulation pages for each fish, that's all statically generated with Next.js. That's why it's so fast.
Nice.
That's amazing. When did you hear about it, Next.js, and what was it solving, Rick?
So I've heard about it since probably the beginning. Guillermo, the founder of Vercel and Next.js, he created MooTools, so I've been following him since the MooTool days in the mid 2000s. So anyway, as far as solving problems, it just solves the problems that an SPA creates, really. In a couple other startups, we had these huge giant SPAs, and you could do like the splitting where you lazily load bundles in and stuff like that. But Next.js just does like an order of magnitude better at all of that stuff. It's pretty incredible, really. And they do such a good job of letting you choose, like, part of this page I want to statically generate, part of this page I want to server side generate, and the other part I just want to use it like a normal React app and pull data down live. It's very, very flexible. I like how you can just kind of pick and choose,
That was one of the questions I had. So the thing of bringing that up, for example, in the example we used here, it's a bunch of events page. Someone's loaded it. Michelle has it on her front page. I change the back end. I add a new event, and she goes to the front page. and the list of events in there, does my new event show up there?
It'll eventually show up, yeah. So what happens is when you hit it, it'll load the page that's already statically available, but then in the background, it'll regenerate it, and then it updates the props of your React page, and then it'll update it. It's pretty cool.
That's what you were mentioning, right, Jonathan? That it's you can do it by timer, you can do it by live, like we showed us at the very end of that. Sorry about the wind.
Correct. So it depends on how you do the final build and how you want to essentially grab that data. If it's really consistent, like it needs to update a lot or frequently, then yeah. But yeah, definitely it's a very powerful tool.
And would I then have to maintain two endpoints, one an API endpoint where the React side could pull, say, my event space, to use the example we're showing, and then the dynamically, timed and things like that endpoint to create the static pages for those events?
No? Essentially you could like the way we have it currently and for BocaCode is you could create a node function inside of NextJS that is hosted inside of the cloud functions of Firebase, for example, and then it's just listening. It's listening for the endpoint. So as you're doing the build, as if you want to do it up on build, or if you want to do it like server-side rendering, true server-side rendering, it's just going to hit live that the cloud function, and it's going to pull the data and give it to you and render those items live.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions?
If you use it in tandem with Vercel, they do all that for you. They spin up these little serverless functions. They just take like your function that you write. You don't have to write any schemas and YAML files or anything like that, like you would for like Lambdas or whatever. You just like this little function, and it knows, oh, I'm going to stuff this in a serverless thing, and that's what it calls when you need to like re-render your page or whatever dynamically. It's pretty cool.
But did we go back to static pages in the sense like /events /42? Actually, when I go to 43, not click the URL, but I click on next, and the URL changes to 43, and React reloads that just pulls the information. Is it actually going to the server and reloading the whole 43? I was in 42, and now I'm 43. Or did it do the React magic of just changing the props, just changing the individual pieces that changed for this event page?
No, so it's using the like for static, for the page that we did, for example, now it's using the static, so it is pulling just the static content. But again, if you have the server side function to do that like dynamically, then yeah.
Well, I'm on page 1, and I want to go to page 2, and there's a next button there. But next, I mean, NEXT. I'm photo number 1. I go to photo number 2. If I'm doing a basic HTML page, it goes and throws this away, and then pulls every single thing, and then brings it back up. On React, the magic is once I've loaded all the React up, the images are kind of hidden, but they're not hidden. You know what I mean? I do an API call, and the image is replaced, and the title is replaced, and it's super fast because of that. Do we with Next.js, do we have the first where the whole page is thrown away, and the whole the header that Anthony brought up with the footer is reloaded? Yes,
correct me if I'm wrong, but yes, that's the way that I see it. That's what it's doing. I'm not Rick has a different idea.
Yeah,
I think that's what it's doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of both. That's what's kind of crazy about it is you can pick and choose on how it works, when it works that way. Most of the time you want it to be a brand new page because it's pulled from CDN. It's really crazy fast, that kind of thing. But it just kind of depends. If you want it more dynamic, where like certain parts of your page render and change out stuff, but the other parts don't, you can go down that route too. It's kind of crazy. Like you literally can pick and choose all the different ones and apply all of them, almost all of them at the same time. Almost all.
Love it. Love it. Like you said, Rick, I mean, you know, the fact that it's an SPA, like I believe Kevin was also mentioning, you know, an SPA already has just the benefits of, you know, it can be hosted in some of these CDN places that can load the images super fast, the web pages super fast, and then it's live. So that's awesome. Anybody else want to chime in or have any questions for the amazing Jonathan or Rick or Michelle, any of those experts?
Dan, what do you think? Do you like it?
So when are we covering next?
Yeah. That's the other thing. So all the things you learned today, Dan, about React, just throw them away. And I've learned this new way of doing things for React. And no. Michelle's waving like this, but she's on mute, so I don't know what she's saying at all. I believe she's saying, yes, Damien, you're absolutely right. This is exactly. I believe that's. I mean, she's Italian, so that's how they speak with their hands and all that. So, you know, exactly. Like, oh, I love what you're saying. I think it's exactly right.
I'm just gonna turn my mic on. I'm just gonna say. No.
Do not throw away what you learned today, Dan. Do not listen to any of the bald people here or the haired people here.
A quick answer to that is no, we're not going to cover it. but definitely something that, you know, we could do on the side, and it's just so much content that, you know, we throw at you guys.
Yeah, that was honestly one of my first questions when we even started React with Todd was, you know, just coming from a more like high level website management background. It was like, oh, so they're created dynamically. Like, what the hell does that do to SEO? And so, yeah, I think that was the answer. It was like, there's solutions for that, but built in, yeah, you're right. It takes a hit. So it's really cool to see, you know, the solution for it.
Absolutely. And you know that, you know, you were marketing before, so you know what this is about here. But yeah, there's a lot of benefits also. I think he showed it to us without really seeing it. The images, the benefits of the images, you know, the image, you know, it's IMG on HTML, it's not image. And that actually, I don't know if everybody realized it, and actually grabbed the image, made it a smaller version, threw that up on the server first, and then put the bigger version. So we had a really slow connection. It would have been sort of a better, more optimized for you. When you loaded that same web page up on your mobile, it would have had a smaller, because it doesn't have to have as much pixels, right? There's not that many pixels in your phone, you know. So it did all that magic as well. Did the routing as well. Yeah, and the routing, yes, you're right. I mean, you'll see. I mean, Dan, you have to build the pages, you know, each one of them. But that, you know, the fact that you can just he just dropped the new page, and all of a sudden it was there, available, routing. You know, there's no thinking about it. You know, things like that. So that's just, I'm really impressed by that. So that's just amazing. All right. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I mean, we can continue the conversation, but I'll wrap up by just reminding everybody next week we will have our first hybrid event. It'll be both in-house and it will be Michelle's dancing because it'll be in BocaCode. Yeah. We'll all be dancing there. So if you wish to join us, just look out for the information coming soon to your email or FloridaJS.com. It will be in person, but we will also make sure that it is available. I will have my mic on that's remote, so I will be able to walk around. The speaker will too, if I'm not the speaker, at the next event. So you'll be able to hear everybody, even if you want to join us this way by virtual. But please join us either virtual or in person next week, Tuesday, 6 p.m., same bat channel, same back place. And if you can, at BocaCode. So with that in mind, thank you, NES. Wonderful. Did I pronounce your name right? NES, Scott?
Yeah, Scott. 1 second.
I should pronounce it 1 second. Well, thank you very much. 1 second. Is that what you meant? Great job.
That, guys. Then thank you for your time. And if you have any more questions, definitely you can reach out to me, Jonathan@BocaCode.com. And I sent in the final version of that the little project. So if you want to look at the final version,
can you check it in as a new branch so that you can have the final checked in version, so that they can start from the beginning if they want to see the video, or what do you think?
Yeah, so I have two branches, one main, which is the bare bones, and the final branch, which is the final.
Wonderful.
So they could pick and choose.
There you go. One last chance. You can still go to slides.floridajs.com until next event to see exactly the GitHub repo that Jonathan has worked on for this event and for others. This will be on YouTube. I'll make sure to put the links in there as YouTube. Please join us on youtube.com/FloridaJS and give me a like, if a subscribe if you were kind enough to do so. And we'll see everybody in next week's event, in person or Zoom. Regardless, we'll see you there. Bye.